I haven't had any site visits this first half of the year. We haven't had any cases that have shown up. The top 10 taxpayers in River Oaks are all paid up as of the end of January, so that's good news. But starting in April, we will start doing site visits, and any business personal property account that hasn't been paid that's of any substantial size will get a visit. All of them will get letters from us. A couple things of interest on your delinquent tax roll analysis. We included a pie chart. You can see that about 55% of the delinquency is in lawsuit. We're working those accounts pretty hard. I would say that a portion of those are business personal property accounts that are uncollectible either legally or because the assets are no longer here. It's not uncommon to file on a business that went out of business last year just so that that account is in suit in case they ever come back into business, but they never do. Or if they do, they incorporate under a different name. Of note, though, is that a quarter of your portfolio is in deferral. Your delinquent portfolio is in deferral. This is nothing you did. This is nothing the appraisal district did or the tax office did. It's all perfectly legal. It's just that there are provisions that permit people to defer their taxes until the property changes hands. Commonly, that's for individuals over 65. They get a tax freeze and a deferral. It also includes military or veterans who have been injured, whether slightly or severely. They are entitled to different deferrals. And so, again, it's nothing you have to do anything about. It's just something to be aware of. And then I think that's pretty much the meat of the tax roll review. Is there anything else, any questions on about that? Okay.
Over, it keeps popping up about the $134 for mobile home. I thought we had talked about that last year.
Yeah, I think what I recall, and we did, I think I talked about it and look at it again for this, mobile homes stay on the roll, and so does business first party for quite a long time. And the prior tax assessor would pretty much never remove anything from the roll. This mobile home that's delinquent, because it's been the same number for so long, has probably been sitting there as a judgment for decades, or not decades, a decade. I think it's been on there as long as I've seen it.
Well, we got rid of all our...
That's why I'm thinking, it's not still here. And even if that mobile home number was 10,000, I would say that you don't put that number in your budget for future revenue. Mobile homes depreciate so rapidly that by the time they become delinquent, they're not worth the effort to seize them, and then there's no way to buy them. So they're usually, you're hoping that the real property owner will declare them abandoned and either sell them for parts or burn them.
Mobile, it might be gone.
That's the hope, right? Usually when they get to that situation, you hope they disappear quickly. They never do when somebody wants them to go. So the other major portfolio of work that we're doing for you is our court collections. So this is working with your municipal court to take cases that, in the vast majority of them, have a warrant on them. These are individuals who have been notified that they received a ticket, they've come to court, they've made a deal to resolve their ticket, or in some form or fashion they have failed to appear in front of the court to resolve their matter. The court's issued a warrant, which is really just an order for a law enforcement individual to bring that person to the court to answer for their failure to respond. But the reality is it's not feasible to arrest everybody and bring them into the court at once that has failed to respond, both because you can't find them and because there's just limited resources. And so what we do is we work with the court to try to reach out to these people and remind them this is still an obligation that you need to resolve. Things are looking really well. We work real well with Belinda and your court team and have been working hard to provide them a lot of information. We do a lot of letters and mail-in and phone calls to try to get a hold of people. But there's a lot of accounts that don't get resolved that way because there's a lot of people that have an alternative resolution option that's not just payment. And so our goal is to get those people back to the court, make sure they know if you think you have a reason to settle this without payment or a lower amount, contact the court because they want to know and they want to work with you on it. That also includes deceased people that can't contact the court. They don't really care if there's a warrant out for their arrest, but we figure their family might. And so what we do is we research all the deceased individuals we can and try to get that back to the court so the judge can dismiss those cases and get those off the rolls. It's not causing the court any trouble to have them on there, except sexual files that have to sit on the shelf. Right now, collections are up 18% over the same quarter last year. This report is actually done on your calendar year as opposed to the tax report, which is done on a collection cycle year. The reason that's important is that that's 3 months. We're showing about $59,000 in collections. The portfolio of cases we have from the court is fairly old. Every year we get every month almost 20 to 30% of the cases we get come from 2 to 3 years before. And in the collections world, 2 to 3 years is pretty old. We don't view that as uncollectible. We still work them. We still reach out to the people, try to find them and send them letters. We try to get a hold of them if they have an attorney on the case. We try to contact their attorney and have their attorney get a hold of them. But it's just an element of the portfolio that I think is important to kind of share with you. Overall, though, the collections are looking strong. I think if you speak with Belinda, she's very happy with the results that we're doing and the way we're treating the defendants. A good number of the defendants that you have are not River Oaks residents or people that travel through, but there are some that are. And we can't tell who is who right off the bat when they call until we look at their address. We can't tell which one of them is your nephew or your sister, and so we treat them all the same. We want to treat them all like they might call one of you right away, which means we treat them professionally. A few other little things. This time of year is what used to be referred to as the Great Statewide Warrant Roundup. Due to some changes in the sort of tenor of warrant enforcement, that no longer exists. This is now the tax refund enforcement period. And so while everybody's hopefully getting a little bit of boom from their tax refund, we're sending out a massive amount of letters and research to try to find people to remind them of this obligation so that if they get a check from the IRS, that this is the first obligation they want to resolve. And it should be, because the warrant is about the heaviest hammer that anybody can have against them. So we want to make sure they know. So that's the court report. Is there any detail that I missed or anything you want to hear about on that? I'm going through some of that kind of fast, so I don't want to skip over something that's important to anybody. And finally, the utility portfolio. This is a bit of a, I don't know what I'd call it. I'd be very careful how I word it maybe. When I came to you, I think it was probably a year and a half ago, when we started doing this, we told you, hey, this is a hard thing to do. There's no hammer. The good news is that you're on the Tyler Encode product for finance, and that's usually a good program. We've discovered that it's a little bit difficult on the utility side. It's not Tyler, it's just the system itself. We received some cases at the beginning of last year, and we mailed, I sent you the numbers, and I don't have them with me, Marvin, but it was in the report. We mailed on all the accounts that you gave us. The problem is, because of the reporting mechanism, when Selena pulls a report, it takes it out of her queue of ability to actually see the report, the account, when someone comes in and pays. And which is an odd situation, right? Because now if you come in and pay, she doesn't know what is owed. So we're working on a solution for that. Because of that,
2019, you received 263 cases.
We mailed on 262 of them.
Worth 31,689 and mailed on 252 accounts, which is 30,600.
Okay. I mean, there's probably a few that we couldn't find current addresses for. There are likely some of those individuals that have paid, but because we can't pull the report without freezing up the system, we don't have that information. So we're trying to look for a unique situation. We did this in Watauga. We tried to follow the exact same protocol, and it didn't work. So we're still working on that. There's a lot of difficulties with utility collections. Oftentimes, and you see it in the deferral number, it's likely similar on the tax side. You have people that pass away, and the kids take over the home, and they don't want to pay a new deposit, and so you don't get any information from them. You don't find out that the account holder has passed, and then if they stop paying, their account disappear, you have no information, and it makes it real hard to collect. We always say the best defense, kind of do it backwards, right? The best defense in utility collections is actually a good offense. Be ahead of the game, and y'all have done this. Y'all have actually done the hard work on this over the last few years, which includes updating deposit fees on a regular basis, making the requirements for getting a utility account a little more strenuous. Not that it's harder to get, just the information that you get is more detailed, which makes it easier to track for people. That has a bigger impact on delinquent utility collections than almost anything, because you limit it from the front end. But with these individuals that are taking over their parents' house, they're not actually setting up new accounts, so you're not getting new deposits that are based on the current market. It's a lot of trouble, but we are sending out some letters on those, and as soon as we get an update, we'll be able to send out new letters and report back to you exactly how much has been collected. We anticipate about a 5 to 15% collection rate on these accounts over the life of the time that we do it, which we would say over 2 or 3 years before you might say, okay, at this point, the account's probably done. But we don't have that information for you tonight. But we do plan on having that information for you soon. And hopefully by the next time I come to report to you, I hope I have lots of good information about it. Because we do know it works. We do know our system has been successful in a lot of cities in the Metroplex. It's just that it's usually on systems that are not as advanced as Encode, so we get an Excel sheet that's handmade. So you have the capability to do something more advanced, and we want to take advantage of that. We just need to make it work.
I think we struggle on trying to figure out how a way to get those accounts changed because a lot of times we don't know these people pass away. And,